Let's face it, in one way or another, Disney Channel has been such an essential part of our lives. I remember the time where I'd watch shows like Wizards of Waverly Place, Jessie. I even watched that show about that pickle and peanut, I'll say it.
I'll be back before you can bat an eye!
I also watched two shows that surprisingly enough are so inexplicably similar yet somehow very different from each other, and that's Kim Possible and Casey Undercover. I mean, the similarities are obvious. Both of them are spies, they even have a similar suit design, both of their names start with K, you get the idea. The differences, well, one's animation, the other's live action, one's better. I think you also get the idea on that one. So without further ado, let's have a little competition called Kim Possible versus Casey Undercover. And the best way to figure out which one is better is to break it down into 7 parts. We got best family, best side characters, best villains, best action, best writing, best theme song, and best main character. So let's begin, shall we? So honestly, this might be kind of a bias, but I think Casey Undercover did it better. The family and Kim Possible are very likable, but sadly they don't get a lot of attention. When they do, they're extremely funny, and my favorite running gag about them is how okay they are that Kim Possible is, you know, Kim Possible. Usually a parent, a significant other, or even your best friend would be very worried for you and would tell you up front. With this family, they're literally like, "Just heard you saved the day yesterday, Kim." Yeah, but I gotta admit this one was tough. I mean, Dragon was this close to really getting me this time. I really thought I was gonna get a concussion or something, but then after that I was like, maybe this is because I bashed my head several times when I was dangling from that cliff. Great to hear, sweetie. But in Casey Undercover, not only do they have great chemistry with each other, but because they have a lot of screen time and are so likable, there's no doubt that they're just better. When I saw that scene when Ernie was beating up the evil goatee dude, I remember feeling so satisfied. Sure, Judy can be annoying, but that was kind of the point. The mom and dad, in my opinion, are pretty great, even though sometimes I feel like what they do can be pretty debatable. I just personally think the family as a whole not only were utilized to the fullest, but I did legit feel like they were a family. So I think Casey Undercover did a better job. So the point goes to Casey Undercover. So if I talk about all the side characters of both shows, it would probably take more time than time itself, so I'm just gonna narrow it down to Stoppable and Marissa Clarke. I think Stoppable is better. I'll give credit that Marissa as a character is really just manufactured to have this kind of one-note personality. I mean, sometimes she does get a bit of a chuckle out of me.
Yeah, you heard her. You guys are nothing but candy wrappers, empty cans, and dirty napkins. What? I'm trash talking.
But Stoppable is just a more defined, funny character. I'll admit his voice can kind of grate on you, but once you get used to it, you can't lie and say that not only is the delivery on point, but he's just a great character overall. So yeah, Ron is just superior, so the point goes to Kim Possible. Honestly, Kim Possible easily takes the icing on the cake for this one. The villains in Casey Undercover are good for what they are, but also pretty much every single big bad they encounter is imbued to the twist villain trope, which gets so tedious. Especially at the end of the show when the major villain of the entire series was actually Agent Johnson, which even as a kid I was just rolling my eyes, it was so obvious. You could imagine a 5-year-old literally going like, with Kim Possible on the other hand, we have villains like Professor Dementor, Motor Ed, Monkey Fist, Senior Senior, and Senior Senior Junior, such a funny name, and most notably Draken and Chigo. Sure, they feel a little too, how do I put it, villains of the week, but because I find them so enjoyably deranged, it makes me want to see them more and more.
Chigo, shouldn't you be behind bars? I got an early parole. Only here to say hi.
So Kim Possible easily gets that one. So obviously the action is kind of a no-brainer, even though I definitely want to say that if Casey Undercover was animated, it would have been a completely different story. But obviously Kim Possible's is better. I feel kind of bad doing a comparison of the two because it really doesn't make sense to contrast an animated show with a live-action show that probably had the budget of a toothpick, but that's not to say the action with Casey Undercover was bad. for what it was. Like, honestly, a lot of the action, even to this day, clearly had a lot of effort put into it and was honestly really cool sometimes. The stunts were kind of fun, the camera angles were really snappy, and even though you can freeze frame a lot of the time and see a person that does not look like Zendaya, but for a Disney Channel show that probably couldn't even afford some of these stunt doubles, it was honestly a lot of fun. Kim Possible's action, because it's obviously animated, has the advantage of producing a lot more energy on screen. Especially in the movies, not you. I mean, the colors and the way they move is so riveting to watch, especially when I was younger. So, Kim Possible probably wins this one, even though I know for a fact that it's kind of ridiculous to juxtapose the two. Yeah, there's no excuse here. Kim Possible's is just so much better. That's not to say Casey Undercover's writing is bad per se.
This is Operation Protect the Prince.
Ooh, I wonder what we're gonna be doing.
Okay, a lot of it doesn't hold up, but the deliveries are on point.
Ooh, memory foam.
And hopefully it can forget.
Usually on point. Okay, it's incredibly hit or miss. The show has a lot of Disney-fied jokes that can be really bad. And by the way, that doesn't mean it's all bad. There are some jokes that are just hilarious.
Your work is genius, as is your hair.
Oh, well, my style is perpetually caught in a breeze.
But Kim Possible has such clever writing.
Between a rocket scientist and a brain surgeon, the best idea you people can come up with is minimum wage?
It's clear because of the difference of the format that they have a lot more time in the writer's room. But the jokes in Kim Possible are quick, witty, and even though some of it can really be geared towards children, it's still very well done, and a lot of it is still great towards adults. And in terms of storytelling, because most of them are episodic, they both do a pretty good job. A lot of the premises are fun, down to earth, and even though when they're doing an episode that is more based on high school, it can still be very engaging. But overall, Kim Possible's writing absolutely dominates Casey Undercover's. Now this one might be tricky because I love both of them. Kim Possible has such a nostalgic 2000s vibe with the beat, the animation,
So what's the sitch?
it's just iconic. Casey Undercover is also great with Zendaya singing, the graphics, which I'll give them this, always pumped me up when I was about to watch an episode. But if I had to say which one is truthfully the one that I'd never skip, it would probably be Kim Possible's. Casey Undercover's theme song is really good, but because of how sometimes modern and dated it can be, it can kind of make it downright boring to listen to before every episode. But Kim Possible's just never gets old, so I'm gonna give this one to Kim Possible. I probably take it back about the last one. This is without a doubt the hardest one I had to do because I think I have to say that I like Casey Cooper a lot better. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes Zendaya has to say some god-awful lines.
I have no swag. I'm unswagged, deswagged, swag-free, minus swag, swagless, swag light. Man, I can't even pick my swag deficiency.
But because she has such charisma in the way she portrays this role, it just got more of a reaction out of me than Kim Possible ever did. And look, I don't hate Kim Possible, but I don't think she's that interesting. I mean, compared to her live-action counterpart, she can at the very least have an emotion when the writers give her a funny line. It's funny, the voice acting is good, it's just the fact that there isn't anything distinctive about her except the number of costumes that little girls are gonna wear and wore for the past 2 decades. Kim was basically perfect. Her name is even based on how everything is possible for her. All of the male buffoons close to her are there to create adversity, where character flaws would normally do so. I mean, Ron's last name is Stoppable. Stoppable. The characters were either there as a reflection of her or to bring her down from perfection. She's kind of like a Disney princess in that way. But that led to the issue that individually, there really isn't any significance that can make Kim stand out. But with Casey, I don't know if it's because she's not animated, but with all the really Disney-fied writing that she might have had, Zendaya gave an altogether great performance. With all the limited boundaries and characteristics she contained, she was able to make it her own. And due to that, I feel like she's just overall more captivating than Kim Possible. So Casey Undercover unexpectedly wins this one. And now, let's see who's the winner. Ah, the 2000s. Back when Kim's communicator was considered high-tech sci-fi, how naive we were back then. Overall, I love both of these shows from the bottom of my heart. I guess because this video is a competition, Kim Possible would be the better show. Kim Possible is just superior in pretty much every conceivable way. And if I were to pick which show to rewatch from time to time, it would most likely be Kim Possible. The way they incorporate the spy genre is something that I always loved as a kid, and giving us a female lead that doesn't dangle from a building, especially in those times, will always be a blessing. But that doesn't mean in any way I dislike Casey Undercover, even though the Disneyfication of it all can be absolutely atrocious. But when the jokes do hit, they're really funny, and Zendaya was always a delight to me. I mean, look at her now. She's like a rock star and deserves every single amount of love because she's just so talented. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this kind of new concept that I've wanted to make for quite a while now. And if you want, comment down below if there are any shows, movies, or anything that have some odd similarity that could be turned into a little competition, if you will. I would love to see that.